This season, we want to suggest that you give Ruth Stout Gardening a try. Guten Yardening, everybody! Recently, we've done a couple of videos on a few of the methods that we've been using successfully here at Guten Yardening for growing our fruits and vegetables, and this video is no different. This video's focus is on Ruth Stout Gardening, and we're going to talk a little bit about why we like it so much. And as always, we're going to encourage you to give it a try. Now, if you're somebody who's already tried Ruth Stout Gardening in the past or currently garden that way, we'd love for you to leave a comment so other people who are watching this video can understand that what we're talking about here and the success that we had is not a fluke. It's something that really has worked well. I think the first question you might have, especially if you're new to gardening or certainly new to Ruth Stout Gardening, is what is Ruth Stout Gardening? Another way that you could think about Ruth Stout Gardening is as deep mulch gardening, because what we're doing is we're taking a deep layer of organic matter and we're growing our vegetables in there. So it's no-till. This is a no-till method of gardening, and there's really not a lot of work. In fact, that's one of the absolute benefits of Ruth Stout Gardening. It is labor unintensive. This is one of those easy methods of gardening that still yields great results. Now, you can use a wide variety of organic matter. We've even added some of our corn stalks that we've mowed up into small pieces. You can use leaves, but what we've found the most success with over the last 2 seasons and now heading into our 3rd season is hay. And I think that makes perfect sense considering the fact that when Ruth Stout was experimenting around with this, she found that hay worked the best for her as well. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about what it's looked like for us over the last couple seasons and some of the reasons why we suggest that you give this a try. So first I want to talk a little bit about flexibility, because for us on a small property, having the ability to move this around wherever we want it to be, this garden space, and the ability to change the size or manipulate the size to as small or as big an area we have is a huge selling point for the Ruth Stout method. Because all we're going to do is to find a location where we can drop some organic matter. In our case, I'm just going to call it hay from this point forward. We're looking for a small place where we can lay some hay down, about 10 to 12 inches of hay that's going to settle over time. And wherever that is, wherever I can drop some hay, that's a place for a Ruth Stout garden. So what this means for us is if I have an area that's 1 foot by 3 foot, I've got a space where I could put down a Ruth Stout garden. If I've got a 12 inch by 12 inch area, the same potential is there. And if I have 100 feet that I want to put an entire row of that spoiled hay down, I can do that just as well. Now for us, we've done a couple of different experiments with the Ruth Stout method. Our main Ruth Stout bed is about 25 square feet. And I'll talk about results here in just a second, but we've been growing potatoes in that bed for the last couple of years. This past season, we also attempted to grow some sweet potatoes in a Ruth Stout or a modified Ruth Stout method with some decent success and certainly some potential showing up there in the future. But understand that it was really easy for us to create that Ruth Stout bed, our bigger bed there, because all we did was we lined the outside of it with some sticks that we had, so we had an idea of what it was going to look like in terms of the overall area, and then we laid down the hay. Now we did one additional step, which was to put down some cardboard to kill off the grass underneath, but we know that that step wasn't even necessary. Once we get that layer of hay down, those weeds, etc. underneath, they're going to be taken care of by the hay. So there's no set amount of space needed. It's really up to what you have, the area that you have. And that leads us to our next benefit here, our 23 square foot area. Think about that in terms of the cost of a raised bed. A 23 square foot raised bed is probably going to cost you, even if you build it yourself with lumber prices these days, and I can speak from experience for one of the beds that we have up there, which is about the same size, it's going to cost you probably $150 at least. Again, that's from personal experience in how we built with a pretty inexpensive material. Instead of spending money on the build, on the lumber, on the screws, etc., and the time and labor into that, the Ruth Stout method requires you to go out and find some hay that's going to probably be, well, let's just say if you source it locally from a local farmer, if you have one nearby, we've found that we can get bales anywhere from $3 to $5. And these are bales that weren't sprayed with anything. per bale, $3 to $5 per bale, means that we can fill up that space for probably $30, $35, an area that we can then garden in, and that's going to stay out there, it's going to decompose, and we'll add more hay as we go, but we don't have to remove that hay at any point. So that initial expenditure is far lower for the Ruth Stout method. At least that's been our experience so far. And once you get that hay down on the ground, what you're going to find is that the soil underneath is going to start improving, and that's another benefit of the Ruth Stout method. As that mulch decomposes and breaks down, there's going to be so much life in there. It's going to be really improving your soil, and on top of that, and I think this is one of the coolest benefits of this method, if you live in an area that is dry, you have a dry climate, and I'll say this, our past summer was pretty dry here in Zone 5, Wisconsin. But if you have a dry climate, this hay really helps to retain moisture. When you dig down about 4 or 5 inches into that hay where it's breaking down, you're going to see that there is plenty of moisture being retained. So that really reduces the amount of water that you need throughout the growing process for this. Now, I know a lot of people are just set it and forget it when it comes to the Ruth Stout method. We've watered a couple times, but really that reduces the amount of water needed. So even in a really hot, dry spell, our vegetables, in this case our potatoes, in there stayed really nice, green, and healthy. Now, we've only grown potatoes and sweet potatoes so far, although we want to expand out what we've grown in the Ruth Stout method. And one of the things that we know about this from other people's experiences is that you can actually grow quite a wide variety of vegetables. Now, similar to this, we've done some hay bale gardening, and I get this question a lot. When I say hay bales, I literally mean hay bales and not straw bales, although we've done that as well. But we've done hay bale gardening, and we've grown beans and beets and turnips and a lot of the vegetables that you can think of that you'd want to have, we've grown in those hay bales. And so if that method works there, then it makes sense to us that it would also work in that deep mulch method in a Ruth Stout bed. Now, before I get to the biggest benefit of Ruth Stout gardening, in my opinion, I will tell you that the one challenge that we've really faced with this method is that you are laying that bed right out there in the open. So that means any critters that you have, like voles, etc., are going to have access to what you're growing. So if you want to be successful in this method, it makes sense to have some sort of plan in place to keep those critters out, whether that's a cat, or in our case, in order to improve this next season, one of the things we plan to do is to try out some 1/2-inch hardware cloth to try to keep some of those voles or other critters away. Now, what have we personally seen as perhaps the biggest benefit of Ruth Stout gardening? That's the year-over-year increase and improvement in the entire process and what we can grow in there. Our first year of growing Ruth Stout potatoes, we had a decent harvest, maybe about 18 pounds. This year, we nearly tripled the amount of potatoes that we brought out of the exact same area. They were bigger, they were better. It was just an amazing increase. And from what we understand and our research has shown, we should expect even more improvement as that hay continues to break down, as that area enriches itself. And so we think next season, as we're going to be growing with you, we hope, it's going to be an even better, our best production yet. That's our plan anyway, and we're going to keep experimenting with this. Look, if you've never tried Ruth Stout gardening before, we highly encourage you to give it a try. Again, we're only suggesting things where we've seen success here at Guten Yardening, and we want you to join in with that same success, and we think this is a really easy method of gardening. Oh, and one more thing. Ruth Stout said that one of the reasons why she wanted to do this style of gardening is she didn't really want to work hard with gardening. You want to talk about an easy harvest? Try pulling potatoes not out of the ground, out of hay. You move the hay back, and there they are, right there for you, exposed. It's the easiest harvest ever. So that is another added bonus to the Ruth Stout gardening method. We hope you enjoyed this video today, and if you did, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, Remember to share and subscribe. And most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.